Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone. JT here. Welcome to the huddle. For those joining me for the first time, the huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport, from the world of coaching. And the whole intention is to learn more about their journey to greatness. And the reason is that success always leaves clues. I am really enthused today, folks. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. I'm so glad he was able to carve some time out from his busy schedule. And just like to welcome into the huddle, the head coach of the Waterloo Warrior Football program and my good friend, Chris Bertoia. How are you today, Chris?
Good. Appreciate. Thanks for having me, JT, and happy to be on and doing well.
Yeah, well, great to hear. Just to let you know, brother, I've been getting some messages this week from people that, coaching colleagues, people who have coached with you, people that have coached against you. Some of your former players really had nothing but great things to say. A lot of people looking forward to just, hearing, just there's an energy about you, Bert. There's always been. So yeah, a lot of people looking forward to this conversation, brother.
Well, I've been looking forward to it too as well, and haven't seen you in a while, and obviously
Yeah.
you made a move and looking forward to this, and love what you're doing with your podcast and then writing your book and
Yeah.
just chasing your own dreams and goals too. It's coincides with each other. So happy to chat and excited to be on board today.
Yeah, no, definitely. So before we came on, I love how you were sharing just, the importance of, especially during times like this, it's interesting times is, really it's about human connection. So what I would love to do is I'd love to know what is something that maybe people don't know about you, maybe like a fun fact, maybe just like a quirk, something that, yeah, maybe a lot of people don't know that you feel comfortable sharing.
Oh man, I pretty much wear my heart on my sleeve, so I'm not sure if there's any secrets really.
Okay.
Uh, you know, my players know I like to dance when we win football games. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, my friends know I like to take my shirt off when I'm having a good time at a wedding or a party. I don't know. Uh, but the people out there that don't necessarily know me, I mean, those are a few tidbits, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I like to wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah.
There's maybe people don't know that a tidbit is my dad worked for Bell Canada.
Okay.
And so in 1980, me and my family moved to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I lived in Saudi
Mhm.
Arabia up until just before 1985, so 4.5 years in the Middle East. Um, I also taught English after university briefly for a year and a bit over in Taiwan and South Korea.
Oh,
Those are
okay.
some things outside of the football realm
Yeah.
that people might not know about me. But yeah, for the most part, as I said, I'm a pretty open book.
Yeah. Well, again, anyone that knows you, anyone that spent time with you knows that that's one of your best qualities. You wear your heart on your sleeve. What you see is what you get. And I firmly believe that's why you've sort of created this, this amount of success in your life, both personally and professionally. Uh, so what I would love to know, Bert, is what what role has sport played in your life? Like what has been the catalyst for you to really dedicate your life to, being a coach and to a degree being a mentor to so many young men?
Sport in general is so important to me, but I think it's so important to society. Obviously, there's stages in sport. As a kid, you kind of get into different variations of sport, whether it be hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, so on, lacrosse, you name it. I mean, there's tons of tennis. So, but everybody's trying things out to find their niche as a youngster, and then as you grow older, you get into those high school days. You kind of start to sort things out, and obviously you gravitate to things that you perform better at. Everybody, you want to put yourself in a position to be successful, so you're going to do something that you feel like you're good at. But just I think I've always been and I can't necessarily speak to it. I mean, obviously, I moonlighted in high school and pretending, I ran track just to try and get faster for football, and I was never very fast. I did shot put in some of those throw events, so that's the only time I've really in my entire life competed in an individual perspective. I think for me personally, it's better that I speak more on the team concept. I think the team concept with sport is what's been so impactful for me. Fortunately enough, I've been able to be a part of many great teams, had great mentors and coaches and leaders. In high school, I went to Catholic Central High School, and Mike Cercelli and Paul Gleason were great mentors and coaches. And basketball every coach has impacted me in a different way. Obviously the football coaches had a more of an impact. That was my niche as I grew older. But it's just the positivity around a team. Fortunately enough for me, the inclusivity of a team and being on teams growing up that had guys from all parts of the city, all different socioeconomic backgrounds, all different races, ethnicity. I think that all of that stuff, and you come together, and when you have a good coach or a good leader, you put all those things aside when you're collectively in that locker room, and then when you step across the line to compete, you're all pulling the rope in the same direction, and all of a sudden you see that it doesn't matter. We can all work together if we have a goal, and that's something that we want to achieve. And I think it's being a part of a team is reflective of the business world. It's reflective of any type of working. It's certainly needs to be reflective of society. And I think sports sometimes can show society that we are very capable of putting biases and prejudices aside and working towards a goal of inclusivity and equality. And so I'm not going to make it all about that, but I think that sports has that power. And I think we see that. I think we see that in sport, especially during this pandemic. So that's kind of what led me to, as I was finishing off my career as a player at the University of Waterloo, that's kind of what I got right into coaching. But there's no money in coaching, so doing lots of other things. But I think that the biggest influence on me was my two high school coaches, Mike Cercelli and Paul Gleason. And then moving forward, I was able to transition to great coaches and leadership with Tuffy Knight at Waterloo and Chris Trianaflu, God rest his soul. And I was so fortunate to have great mentors and leaders that I was a part of a program with. They showed me the way. And I certainly carry some of their traits with me now, but also they showed the fact that you can be your own individual too, and carve your own path. So that's kind of why sport is so important to me, because I think that if you are part of a team, and you have to, we always talk about taking care of our 1/12. Do your job. Do your job and have trust and faith that the guys beside you are going to do their jobs. Don't worry about everybody else and all the noise around you. Take care of your job. And then if everybody does that, 12 guys on the field in football, then it's 12 12s. It's a whole unit, and nothing can stop us. And so that's why I just love sport for that, team sport in specific. And that's kind of why I wanted to do it. And quite frankly, being with young guys, you get to live vicariously through them. They keep you young at heart, even though, my body's getting banged up a bit as I get older and older, but they keep you young at spirit too. And that's part and parcel why I wanted to get into it.
It's interesting what I'm hearing from you, and a theme that really came up several times as you talked about that was the power of when you put people working towards a common purpose, a common goal, just that energy, right? Just that ability of what is possible when you get everyone buying into that collective vision. Like, that's what I really heard from you.
Absolutely. And that vision, there needs to be autonomy, I think. And so, our coaching, how I coach is we have one team rule, one team standard, and that's the word respect. We apply that to everything we do, from the top down, me being the leader, but we respect individuality too. And so we allow our players to have a voice, because they're we live by the adage that as a leader and as our other coaches lead, um, we tell our players, and we have to live by it. We have to act it. Is that we're never going to ask them to do something we're not prepared to do ourselves. Okay. And then, so instead of standing on a mountain and being a dictator, I'm standing in front of them and we're all pulling that rope in the same direction. We're going to work alongside you. And obviously there's places and times to have conversations. And because I think, grandstanding a coach on the field, 10 years from now, you can't grandstand your boss in the office, but you can go into the boss's office and have a grown man conversation. And so we also, that's part of our environment at Waterloo Football, is that if there's, differences of opinion or anything like that, we're happy to have grown conversations. And because we respect everybody's individuality, because we allow people, I think, everybody to have a voice, there's skin in the game. And because there's skin in the game, and we empower everybody that's a part of it, then it's easier for us to go in the same direction. Sometimes, yeah, life's full of peaks and valleys and bumps in the road, but shoot, if we can get everybody aligned, it's not always going to be perfect, but if we can get everybody aligned and working towards the same goal, and the strength in number and the power in numbers and the power of the collective is huge. And it always has to be in a positive way.
What I really love about that, Bert, is, you're really sharing what it takes to be an effective leader. And that the effective leader, again, yes, you create the vision, but you have to get buy-in, right? From your followers, your players, right? Your coaches, you have to. And I love that you mentioned how it's really about empowering people to feel like they have a voice, that they have skin in the game, like you talked about it. And when you do that, that's where the power lies.
Yeah, it really does. And certainly, football is a hierarchy sport. There's a coach, it's got a paramilitary tone to it, because really you're coordinating. No other sport has so many different variables and positions and coaches, and we have 14 coaches on our staff, and 8 different position groups, and you have to coordinate all that. And I think by giving say our wide receiver coach autonomy and empowering him, this is what we need to do. This is our goal. How you get to the goal, I believe strength surrounds itself with strength. So I believe in myself. I believe I'm a strong leader, but I also believe in my assistant coaches that they're going to get the job done because we've collectively come to an agreement that this is the goal that we want to achieve. Boom. This is the group that you're in charge of. I'm not going to micromanage that group. I'm going to empower you. And in turn, I want you to empower your players. And then, you go in a 5th-year player down to a freshman player, and different players, some players are vocal leaders. Some players lead by example. I think leading by example has to be a trait of any leader, period. But some people are quiet, have quiet mannerisms. They don't necessarily are rah-rah guys, but their work ethic is out the ceiling. And you have to find out how every individual works. And we talk about that. Let's figure out, and I challenge the guys, hey, figure out what drives you to compete. What drives you to be the best? Because I respect your individuality. I know what drives me. And I certainly think there's some traits that I could pass down to you, but at the same time, you're you. I don't know what's going on in your head. You got to figure out what intrinsically motivates you, and then go for it. Set your goals, set them high, but also set them attainable too. Like, you don't want to, you want to, I always talk to, you want to set goals where there's a little bit of low hanging fruit, but there's also the top of the tree, right? Because you need to reward yourself. You can't just keep beating your head against the wall and never achieving something. So that's why you take it day by day. And, that's kind of, I don't want to keep going off here. I'll let you talk.
Well, and for anyone that has coached with you, Bert, anyone that's played for you knows how that you do practice what you preach. And I just think back to my own experience being an assistant coach under you with the London Junior Mustangs. I thought back, yeah, you always gave us coaches the autonomy to kind of, like, you had faith that we could do the job, that we would prep the players. And I always remember, yeah, just do your job. I remember actually you and Roby always said, just do your job, right? Coach your player, right? Tell them to do their job. And it was amazing how that simple, being around you guys and being around that leadership style did transform the way I coached, was because I saw what a great effective leader does, like yourself.
Yeah, those were good times. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a conversation for some other
Yeah,
time.
yeah. But you're right, and it's all, you're always learning. I saw you had Benny K on here, and
Yeah.
he mentioned, and I know, you had said something on the Facebook, but you either get better or you get worse, but nothing stays the same. And there's always personal growth on my end. I always want to get better. I want our players to get better, and I am certainly not perfect at anything, and not even close. But it's yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of, if you don't want people to just be yes men and sheep. Um, Obviously there's hierarchy, there's rules, there's all that kind of stuff, and then this is just in general society. But you know you gotta vet the people that you surround yourself with, and make sure that they're like-minded. And it doesn't mean 100% like-minded, but certainly 50%, 60% like-minded. And that's a good thing. And then 40% is their own individual, and that's the big piece for me, is when I've just seen coaches flourish and excel. And it's just kind of, you learn from the various experiences in your own life, from the coaches you played under, from the coaches you coached alongside. I learned stuff from you too. I try to learn. My two full-time assistant coaches, Darrell Adams and Brendan Conway, I learn from those guys all the time, because we have this relationship. Certainly, I'm the leader, and that's my title, and I take it very seriously. But in order, in order for us to be successful, and where we came from as a football program, and where we are right now going into this fall season, surrounding myself with good, strong men who have great values and principles, work their ass off with a smile on their face, and are mentors, and care about the players. That's a huge piece for me. You got to care. You got to care. They need to know that you care, so that they care, and it's a reciprocal thing.
Yeah, such a simple idea, and one that, just is so powerful. So what I would love to know, Bert, is you've had a very successful career, right? At the high school level, at the junior football level, and then, going on to the CIS at multiple schools, right? You started off at St. FX, then you were at Western, and then where you are at Waterloo. What was, and one thing I'd love to know, and you've shared it, is what was the inspiration behind it? Because like you said you started off, coaching, but you've created this amazing career. Like, what was the catalyst for you to decide that, hey, I'm going to dedicate my life to coaching?
Yeah. Well, when I was done playing football at Waterloo in 99, 2000, and then just got right into coaching right away. Started coaching at CCH, my high school alma mater, with Coach Trisselli. Gave me an opportunity there, and I coached the O-line, and just got my feet wet doing that, and just really fell in love with it. And there was great kids around there. One of the guys being J.P. Trisselli, who's now, the University of Windsor head coach, and just kind of got going with that. And then the next step was to the London Beefeaters of the CJFL. And while I'm doing that, I worked at Junaid Detention Center for young offenders, phase 1 young offenders. That was my full-time job at that point in time. And then I moved on to a company called UniFirst, which is like it's like a linen supplies uniforms for, and mats for offices, all that kind of stuff. Similar to Cintas, Canadian Linen, but it's called UniFirst. And really, quite frankly, I was making a lot of, at that stage of my life, I was making a good chunk of change, really. Certainly above what the average income for a household or for a person is right now. Like, it was sales, and obviously I'm half decent at selling stuff. So, but you know what? I wasn't, it was a job. It was a job. And during that stretch at UniFirst, my dad, um, his health deteriorated, and he had ALS, and so for 2 years he battled away, and I watched my dad wither away, and me and him had a very, very tight relationship, and he saw what I was doing, um, and it really, like, obviously I was coaching and I was into it, and I'd thrown out the idea about coaching, but knowing that wholeheartedly, like, there's not a ton of money in it when you get started, so you got to make a lot of sacrifices, and you really got to work really hard, because you essentially, if you want to get into it, you gotta work 10 to 12 hours a day at the coaching piece, but you also actually physically got to work 8 hours somewhere else just to pay the rent and put food on your table, and so it's like, do you do it? Do you do it? The risk versus reward, so on and so forth. And really, what really set me on this path was 3 weeks before my dad passed on August 20th, 2004. We had our last conversation. He didn't really talk after that point in time. And he spoke to me about, he knew, I could tell he knew the end was near, and he spoke to me about regrets and not having any, and if he could change stuff in his life. And yeah, I don't want to get emotional here, but he basically said, son, you gotta make a decision. If I could give you any advice as I'm heading up, I'm leaving this place, is you got to make a decision. And he goes, and you're still young, but he's like, you can't worry about whether you're young or not. And I don't want to delve into my dad too much, but he was very high up at Bell Canada, and he ended up retiring at Bell Canada at 55 years old. And he opened up his own business. He retired early because he didn't want to be, he was a supervisor and everything. He was in a leadership role, but he just wanted to do his own thing. And he went and chased, and quite frankly, the business that he opened up and started went bankrupt in 3 years, and we went bankrupt as a family, but he took a chance, right? And so I remember that. And then he just talked about making a decision between, job versus vocation. And he said, I see it, everyone sees it. You love coaching football. You love coaching. You love being a leader. You love every aspect of it. And he's like, why not? And he's like, and you know what? Yeah, you're making good money right now, but that doesn't matter. If you decide that you want to chase your goal, which ultimately, this isn't a job to me, this is a vocation. Chase the vocation, make that decision to do that. You got to go all in, okay? And you can't listen. You got to put tunnel vision. And there's going to be friends that are making money and have houses and do all this kind of stuff, and you're not going to be able to do any of that, because you're gonna go and take an assistant coach's role if you're afforded that opportunity, and it's going to take you a while to build yourself up, climb up that ladder to a place where you can essentially support your family from a financial standpoint. And that is always something that we have to take into consideration, right? It's great to have goals and dreams, but you still have to have sustenance. You still have to survive, and you have to make money to survive in this world. So that's obviously, sometimes I think that's the biggest roadblock. I think it certainly was for me. It's a roadblock for anybody. Obviously, you've changed careers. It's kind of like, can I do this? Should I do, am I in a place to do this? And so I he left me a little bit of money, not much. He said that I couldn't spend it on Richmond Road at the bars like Jim Bob Race and those places. So I ended up going across. I had a former teammate that was teaching English in Taipei, Taiwan. He got me a job there. I went there and I spent a year abroad with the $15,000 that my dad left me, and I worked and I taught English in both Taiwan and South Korea, and then while I was there, it was kind of my time to sort myself out. And basically, I had my last coaching job was with the Beefeaters. So what I did was I sent emails to every single, other than the French first speaking universities. I sent 24 emails to every single head coach at that time and said that I would work for nothing. All I was looking for was an opportunity. And here was my resume, so on and so forth. And literally just looking for an opportunity. And I'm currently here. And, the one guy that responded to me was John Bloomfield, and he was the head coach at St. FX at the time. And he reached out to me. There's a connection, and that's why I always tell our guys it's always about rubbing elbows and relationship building, and you never know who you're going to be talking with that down the road. And I had coached with the Beefeaters, and his brother was at the Beefeaters, and so his brother gave a glowing report about me, and he reached out and said, why don't you come out to our spring camp here in Antigonish? When he, so I was like, okay, and I'm in Jeju-do, South Korea, and I gotta leave. I was planning on leaving anyways. But I was like, my plane's booked here. He's like, perfect. That's 2 days in advance of our spring camp. So had been gone from Canada for over a year, and then I just landed. My older brother picked me up at the Toronto airport. We came back to London. I did a couple loads of laundry, had a meal with my mom, and I was back on a plane out to Nova Scotia, and never looked back. Really, that's how it started. And really, I'd be remiss not to give all that credit for me taking that leap of faith, knowing that it was going to be a struggle, because it certainly was a struggle, and we're not going to get into every detail, but financially, everything. But my dad said, if I were you want happiness in life, you choose a vocation. And you might not make money like some of your friends are making, and people might think you're silly for doing that. But I promise you this, if you continue to work your tail off and you stay true to yourself and you chase this goal, okay, and you don't let all the side shots deter you from what the goal at the end is. So he's like, set a goal, he said. So when I was over in Asia, I set a goal that I wanted to be a head coach in youth sports by the time I was 40 years old. I took the job here and I was 39. So it's just one of those things that, and I stayed the course, and I had to be all in. And part of me being all in is you had to have support people around you, and that's important too. Family and friends, support mechanisms. My brother, freak, he co-signed a credit card with me, and he's still mad at me for that one. But I had to, it's all good and gone now. But like I had to have one of my best friends, Paul Squinga. He helped me out financially to pay for rent sometimes when I was only making $5,000 a year, working 12 hours a day as a full-time coach at St. FX. So it's one of those things. You got to chase your dreams, and if your dream includes a job that is not a job, it's a vocation, and that's the greatest thing. Is I don't call this work what I do. It's a passion. It's a vocation. I get to be around young men and give them my opinion and influence, and see them go on to be successful businessmen, successful in life, whatever they want their individual success to be. I'm just trying to provide some tools in their toolbox for them to be successful. And so, yeah, that's kind of my story. And it goes back to my father just saying, go for it.
First, Bert, I really appreciate you opening up and sharing that. I've heard that story before, but you describing it really takes me back there, and it really shows what a amazing impact your dad, how close you were, but just how these simple words just really framed this amazing journey for you in your life. The one thing that came up was you talked about sacrifice a lot, and really what I heard from you is you had to sacrifice some safety and comfort, but it's your desire for something, like you said, a bigger calling, a vocation, as you called it. It was just bigger, right? Like that desire was just so much stronger than sacrificing that safety and comfort.
It was, and there were times, I'll tell you, where I wavered. There certainly were times where I wavered, but the people around me, and the coaches that I worked under. John Bloomfield, Greg Marshall at Western. He's a great friend and a great mentor, and obviously super successful as a coach and a man. And then, other people, friends, coaches, colleagues, everybody needs somebody to pump their tires. And never forget that. And especially with today's, mental health issues, it certainly, I wavered a few times. I said, F this, I'm just going to go find another job. And maybe it's not going to happen, and you see some people leapfrog you, and there's certain things happen in the football world, just as in our regular world. And, you go, shoot, it's not fair. Well, life isn't fair, but one thing that is that if you have a resolve to get to somewhere, you can get there, but you have to set a goal. Like, goal setting's been a huge piece for me. And the thing that really, like setting that goal when I got into coaching, when I was first hired at X, was to be a head coach by the time I was 40. And it the stars aligned in the fall of 2014 when the posting for my alma mater's head coaching job came up. And I turned 40. I got hired on December 19th, December 18th, my wife's birthday. And I started December 18th, and then January 27th, I turned 40. So literally a month in advance, but certainly achieved the goal. And like I said, it's been a great ride, and I've learned so much from so many people. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you got to soak up all the information and energy that you get from other people, and form your own desire, your own opinion, but take in your interactions with people. That's something that I believe I'm good at. I pay attention to things like that. And it's helped me to achieve my goal, and now put myself in a position where, shoot, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like, I never would have thought I would be living where I'm living, and have a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful kids, and be very comfortable in life. When I was, beyond paycheck to paycheck, at some points had to, live in, when I was out east, I had to live in the head coach's basement. He had to welcome me into his house because I couldn't afford to rent. Those are the things that you got to do. Sometimes the sacrifices you got to make, and not everybody's built for that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why I respect individuality. I think everybody has their own path and their own journey. And I think you should respect everybody's own path and their own journey. But if you're at a point in your life, if people listening out there, wherever it may be, and you want to change, don't make a change irrationally. Make it rational. Make a plan. Set your goals. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that believe in you, but more importantly, believe in yourself, and know that you can change. You can change, and you can go for whatever direction, whatever goal you want to do.
Such great advice and great insight. So in 2019, so you won the OUA Coach of the Year in 2017. 2019, you lead Waterloo to its first playoff win in 20 years. Just fun fact, that win in 99 was my first year at Western. And I still remember shoveling off the field. And I remember because Coach Haler had to shovel off the field at JW because it thought was to our advantage. And all of a sudden we sort of turned it into a track meet for you guys. And you guys, took it to us that day.
Yeah.
It was like a track meet from Mike Bradley.
For Mike Bradley. Yeah, we're not going to apologize for shutting down JW Little Stadium. That's for sure. But yeah, 2019, obviously the last time we got on the field, certainly was a good year. Obviously, our goals at Waterloo are to win the Yates Cup. You got to win the Yates Cup before you get to the Vanier Cup, but to ultimately win a national championship, be the first team to ever hoist the Vanier Cup up. we have to set goals like that. It took time for us to get to that point. My first 2 years as head coach, I was 0-16. That certainly wasn't the start I wanted to get off to, because with football, unfortunately for me in football, whether it be playing at high school at London Catholic Central and playing in 5 straight city championships there, and then at Waterloo we played in 4 straight Yates Cups, won 2 of those. And then coaching wise, I've been fortunate to be associated with a lot of great leaders and peers and great players. And we had some good times at St. FX and obviously good times at Western. And so to go 0-16 at the start in 15 and 16 was certainly humbling and certainly tested me as an individual and in the realm of positivity, because I certainly that's one of the big things that we have, and I'm an acronym guy, and our team, I've instilled in our team, and I believe our team believes in it, is the word hope, and the acronym of that is have only positive expectations. And sometimes the word hope is thrown out there, and well, we can't hope it, we have to work hard. Well, my whole thing is if we work hard, we put the preparation in, we do everything we possibly can to be prepared, whether it's for a season, whether it's for our upcoming opponent on an individual week. If we know that we can all look in the mirror and know that we've put our max effort into preparing for that upcoming opponent or whatever it may be, that's when we can apply the word hope. Have only positive expectations. Negativity, bullshit. Sorry to that.
It's all good.
There's way too many negative things going on in the world today, as we all know. So I choose to take a positive look at everything. And as part of that, it's a top-down effect with our program. And it's something that, I've set as a standard for us, is that we have to be positive. There are always going to be bumps in the road, and we have to learn from the negatives, and life is full of peaks and valleys. But what pushes you through and helps you persevere through those ups and downs, is having a positive attitude. And each day, I say it to our recruits, I say it to our players, I say it to each day. Everybody's got a story, JT. You know that everyone has a story, and good, bad, and ugly. And we don't have to know everybody's in-depth details, but you have a choice. No matter what's going on in your life, you have a choice when you leave your house. You can choose to be positive, or you can choose to be negative. And if I can do anything, it's to try and really push that on our players, that always choose to be positive, always see the good in a scenario, in a situation. Because if you have to recognize the bad and the negative, certainly, but yeah, the positivity outweighs everything to me. And certainly I believe that's why I'm sitting in the chair I'm sitting in today, because having that attitude helped me get through some of those times where, mentally I wavered and asked myself if I was doing the right thing. So
no, I love that idea of polarity, right? Is that, yeah, there's the negative, but then you chose to direct your attention onto the positive, right? To find the greatness, right? So I'm curious, one of the things I've enjoyed watching from afar is seeing your journey, right? Like you said, you took the head coaching job at Waterloo, first 2 years, 0-16. But I have noticed that there's this confidence, there's this swagger, there's this, and I was chatting about this with Benny when he was on, Benny K, is that you've reestablished a culture. What has been your greatest lesson in reestablishing the culture at Waterloo? Because, I think back to when I was in university, when you're in university, it was like, okay, Waterloo, they're going to be fast, they're going to be physical, they're going to punch you in the mouth. It's going to be a war. So what have you learned in that process? Like, what's been the biggest takeaway?
Well, certainly, we wanted to get back to that back in black and intimidate and dominate mentality and play fast, play aggressive. Certainly, culture, I think, for us, I think, obviously, I think, recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. And I give all the credit to, the coaching staff and the players that we've been able to secure their commitment and have chosen Waterloo, obviously a great academic institution. and that was always a win. We need to get it into a place where it's a win-win, where the athletics and the football experience matches the academic experience, um, and part and parcel of our vision for success, or our formula for success, was uh, we need to recruit winners. Okay, so we went out and we've recruited groups of players, and obviously some being blue chip. Take Ian Meyer in the Niagara Falls, for example. 4 years ago, recruiting Trey Ford and Tyrell Ford, special players. Really shouldn't be playing in the OUA or U Sports. Should be playing Division One in a Power Five conference, and I'm pretty sure most coaches would agree with me. But landing their commitment, but also 4 other of their teammates from that championship team, and then guys from Catholic Central and Huron Heights and Lucas and all these other schools that have perennially, year in and year out, are competitive not only within their own region, but competitive in an OFSA bowl standard, because they're winners. They know what it takes, the work and effort that needs to be put in the off season. Whether they're the blue chip kid or the kid that works his tail off, has a high ceiling, could turn out to be something special in his third year. We need guys. We wanted to kind of overtake our locker room with guys like that, because they have a winning attitude, and they don't accept mediocrity. Okay, and they want to look to their right, look to their left, look across from them, and know that they have like-minded guys in that locker room. So that's how we started building that culture. I think part of it is the word respect, and what we've already touched on, so I won't delve into it too much, but just the fact that we respect our players and their individuality, and their investment in the football program, their investment in trust in me and our coaches, to guide them in the right direction towards success. We have to reciprocate that too. And so, and then I think just having a balance, part of our culture, I'm a guy that we started a parents group as soon as I got there. And some coaches in university would say, you're crazy for doing that. Well, in today's day and world, it's a reality. Parents want to be involved, and parents can help with a tailgating culture and can help with raising money. So why are we going to kick a gift horse in the mouth? Let's embrace them, and let's have them be a part of it. Set boundaries. Obviously, the boundary that we've set with our parents group is that, you're not going to ever ask us why your kid's not playing, because ultimately we don't play favorites. We're going to dress the group of players that we believe are going to help us win a football game on whether it's Saturday, Friday night, Thursday night, whenever the game is. We're not playing favorites. We're playing the players that have performed the best, and it's results oriented world out there. So we want to set people up for success beyond the sport, and that's the reality of life. So we set that parameter, but it's kind of based off of four principles really too in what we do, and we try to find that balance. And obviously the pandemic at points in times has proved to be a challenge, but I wouldn't have known what Zoom and Google Teams and Microsoft Teams and everything would have been a year and a half ago. I didn't know any of this, but it certainly helped a bit too, because now we can do a lot of different things virtually that we didn't know existed before. But 4 principles would be, based off like 4 F's really: future, family, football, and friends. And we believe that we have a wellness coordinator with our team that provide each of our players, mandatorily freshmen, but also, and most of our players in their second to fifth year still get this book that's based off time management, but it has those 4 principles in it. And future means school, really. That to take it, it would really be school, but future is you gotta come here. You're a student first and athlete second. Finish your degree. Okay, we're going to support you in getting that valuable degree, but that's your future. Okay, family. What's the most important thing in life? Family. Okay, why did you select Waterloo? Certainly, some percentage of those kids selected Waterloo first and foremost because maybe computer science or engineering, some of our super competitive, world-renowned programs, but they chose it because of football. So and then friends. Obviously, peer group, friends. So those 4 F's, we build a culture around that and trying to find balance in each. Okay, because we can't be all all into, during the season, sure, football kind of outweighs some things, but at the same time, we have to give them time off. We have to figure out times and pockets of time where they can spend time with their family, where they can spend time with their friends. Because if it's all one thing, they're going to get burnt out and potentially lose their fire and their passion for the sport and for what they're doing. So that's kind of, the culture. The culture is, obviously recruit the best players, but try to recruit players from winning programs because they bring in that mentality, and then maintain that structure. And ultimately, at the end of the day, implement the word hope, having only positive expectations, but at the end of the day, having fun. And you've worked, you got to have fun. You got to have fun. If football is just a sport, it's not war. Okay. People aren't dying on the football field. There's not landmines and all that stuff. We're flying around the field. The offense is trying to score touchdowns. The defense is trying to stop us from scoring touchdowns. Okay. So, I have a huge issue. My brother's a colonel in the military, and and it's easy to say we're going to war today. And some people call it special teams, special forces. Not on my football team, and it's our football team. I hate saying my and I. Maybe we've said that too many times today on this chat, but not in my world. I think there's a difference between war and military and the sport of football. And I think sometimes there's far too many comparisons. So we gotta have fun. You gotta have fun, enjoy what you're doing, and that's something that we've built into our culture too. And winning, knowing that some of the guys that have, we're going to have a strong football club this fall. Some of the guys that deferred their CFL draft and have some of the guys that could be graduated and onto the workforce and their careers, they've decided to one more term because they don't want to go out on COVID and let's finish what we started. And that's exciting. That's exciting. But when, some of those guys have all been a part of those 0-16, 0-8, not winning a lot at the start, but they believed in the vision for success. They trusted us. They came to Waterloo, and we in turn reciprocate that. And so it's exciting. So we established 2 years ago. Well, now it's 3, but basically what we do is after every time we win a football game, no matter what, okay, obviously winning is an expectation because we prepare to win. But I think it's difficult to win in the OUA right now. The parity in the OUA is outstanding. It's kind of not the haves and have-nots anymore. It's a big lump of a lot of quality football programs now, and that's a testament to all my peers and what's happening across the board in the OUA. But we celebrate so we call it the Dub Club. And when we win a football game, after the players all come into the locker room and we shut the lights off and we got strobe lights and we play a song and we dance around and celebrate together. And that's as close to me going out to a club with the players as I'm ever going to get anymore. So we call it the Dub Club, whether it's at 4 p.m. in the afternoon or not. And then players go and spend time with their families and enjoy themselves. But we celebrate every victory because we believe we put a lot of time and effort into preparation for those victories. And why not celebrate them?
Bert, hearing you share that, I really identified why you've been successful is that you have such clear, you're clear on your goals and on your vision, but they're built on a foundation of very clear values. Right. And I was just like, yeah. And the best part is knowing you for as long as I've known you, those core values are who you are. So it's not like they're just things that you truly believe in and embody. And that's why your players and everyone buys in, is because that's you. So I just really wanted to say, kudos to you, brother, for having that self-awareness to build your success on those core values.
Yeah, and I don't know if I recognize that now, JT, but I don't know if I recognize that in my younger days. But I believe that you have to be a principle-based person and be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. And everybody's different. And at the end of the day, though, I just love the players. They give me energy too, and I'm so happy and proud of them when I see them have success. And same goes for the coaches. The biggest thing is to celebrate everybody else's successes, and because I know that I've been fortunate to surround myself with great people, and I've certainly had a lot of people celebrate my own successes, but the job's not done yet, and certainly not as successful as we want to be as a football program, and we can't wait to get back on the field, and I just hope everyone out there is everyone's allowed to do their own thing with vaccinations and stuff, but
Yeah.
let's just do our part and get back to living life normal again, because we need sport at all levels, not just the university level. Kids need sport. We need healthy bodies, healthy minds, and I believe sport is a part of that.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. So the last thing I'd love to ask you, Bert, is, this last year, depending on when people are watching this, it's been an interesting time. And there are people that are, challenged, that are struggling. What is one piece of advice you would have for people? Maybe they're having, challenges with their wellness. Maybe they've had a relationship breakdown. Maybe they've lost their job. Maybe financially, it's just, they're just really, really struggling. What is something that they could do today just to get the ball rolling, to take one positive action, just to get the momentum back going so they can start creating some wins for themselves?
Focus on things you can control. And quite frankly, I owe this to one of our assistant coaches, Brendan Conway. The pandemic's put everybody through peaks and valleys, and I know this third wave and this lockdown, this final lockdown, it better be a final lockdown, it's really beat the crap out of people. And I'm fortunate enough that the University of Waterloo has maintained my job and my privilege as the head coach. And also at the same time, I've been stuck in my basement for 15 months, and this is my office and my backdrop, so on. But that's, no one's going to cry in their beer for me in that regard. But probably 12 months ago, speaking with one of my full-time assistant coaches, and he talked about, we can't control it. We're investing too much time into things that are out of our control. And I think it was just a great chat we just had about it. And it's something that kind of, as we've gone through the pandemic, I've tried to talk to our players about. And we can't control that there's no gyms open for liftings, but what we can control is that, we can go find an old hockey bag and throw as many books in it as possible, and throw it on our back and go for a hike or do squats. Just take control of the variables that you can control, and try to not worry about those things that you can't control, because I can't control right now that we're not allowed to practice as a team. I want to. You're damn right I want to. But I can't control that. So I can't worry about that right now. I can only worry about the things that I can control. And that's I don't know if it's motivating or not, but for the people out there that are struggling, and certainly we've all struggled through this, but to varying degrees. And I know there are a lot of people that have struggled far greater than I have. And for those people, if you're listening, it's just today you can control what you do. And it starts with, and I know it's not easy, but it starts with just controlling that first choice. When you wake up, you have your shower, you control whether you can switch it on in your head that today I'm going to be positive. And if you switch that on, you're on the right path. And then secondly, now what are you going to do? I can go for a walk. Okay. I can get on the internet and search for jobs and try to find some niche for me. Try to structure it where everything's climbing a mountain, and it's in a controlled way, because it's variables that you can control. And I know there's a ton that we can't. If we dwell on the ones we can't, it just brings us down, and it puts us into a little bit of a rabbit hole. And that would be my suggestion. Focus on the controllable variables in your life, and try to do your best and maximize your effort at those, and with a positive attitude.
I love that. So simple, and what a great reminder, Bert. First and foremost, Bert, I personally wanted to acknowledge you for being the man you are, for being the husband you are, the father, the coach, the mentor, and more importantly, the amazing human being you are. I can say from my personal experience, being around you, for you bringing me on your staff in 2013 with the London Junior Mustangs was such an amazing growth experience for me. It really did change the trajectory of my life. So I really wanted to acknowledge you and thank you from my heart for showing me a different way. So thank you for that. And most importantly, how can people follow you? How can they stay connected? Again, we have lots of football minds in here. What's the easiest way to get connected with you?
Well, if anybody ever wants to reach out on me, I mean, if you just Google my name, it's got my
Yeah.
email address and my office line, which obviously I'm not at, but I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those different places. We do a really good job with our social media platforms with Waterloo Warrior Football. Yeah, I mean, and then follow. The biggest thing is that I don't need support. Our players need support. The student athletes who put all the time and effort in, and I am so proud of our guys, specifically at the University of Waterloo. But I'm sure this speaks to the same at all our other competitors in football, throughout the conference and youth sports. But to go through this pandemic as a student and a student athlete, and for them to stay the course and persevere through all this, because I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't want to be a student right now. If I reflect back on my experiences this last year, what they've had to gone through, and not really living a normal college university experience, that's difficult, and just not being around their teammates and friends, and when they are being limited by numbers. And obviously those are all the things we had to do to get out of this thing. But I am so proud of all these young men that I'm fortunate to coach. And if any of them are watching, keep doing what you do. But we had a team meeting the other night anyways. I'm just so appreciative of the opportunity that I have to be in this position. And I'm thankful and grateful for it. And yeah, there's easy ways to follow. Obviously, we're everywhere, but if you're watching and you have a son out there that's pretty good at football, don't hit me up. Always looking for good new players, and certainly we believe we got a great environment, a win-win environment at the University of Waterloo football program, both academically and athletically. And I really thank you for having me on. It was great to shoot the breeze, and I know I'm long-winded, so I apologize everyone out there that I talk too much, but it is what it is. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So, but thanks for having me on, JT. I really appreciate it. It was great to be on in the huddle, and I'm gonna look forward to getting your book and reading through that as well. So,
yeah. No, definitely. And I'll be sure to share all of the handles for you and Waterloo Warrior Football in the description, and make sure so people can get connected with you. Because I'm sure there's lots of parents now going, hey, I want my son to go play for Coach Bert. Other than that, folks, have an amazing rest of your week. We'll see you in the huddle next week. Have a great rest of your day.